Okay, this is a video I've wanted to make for a while, and it's actually about the WWE developmental system. And just something I noticed the other day. I'm watching Florida Championship Wrestling, okay, and I'm thinking, I wonder what will be of the WWE in a few years from now. So I'm watching Florida Championship Wrestling, and I don't know. To me, no one really. Well, let me rephrase that. Maybe four people on that entire roster stood out to me. And I was looking on the website. I was just looking at the talent. And this isn't a personal bash on the talent, but they all had this cookie cutter look. They all looked like I'm the guy with the buzz cut and the tattoo, and you had six people who looked like that. They just all looked kind of plain to me, and they didn't really stand out at all. And it just and on top of that, you just had lots of second and third generation wrestlers, and only so many of them I think will actually catch on, but that's a different story altogether. But just looking at the developmental talent of the way the developmental system is being utilized right now is really worrying. I look on the website and maybe four people stand out to me just by looking at them, and then on the show maybe three of those four people stood out to me, which is strange. And this is a problem. I'm sure a lot of people have talked about, WWE not being able to create future stars. And looking at the developmental system, you can see a lot of problems there. And one of them is some of them don't have their individual personalities, or they just have the generic cookie cutter look, which I've repeated myself again. But the point is, that's what I'm saying. And then when you look back a few years ago, when there was OVW, it was really, really different. You look at all the names and the talent there in OVW during its 2000, was it 2000, 2001 inception. You had talent that stood out, and you could look at it and go, yeah, maybe I could see him on the main roster. Maybe I could see him going to SmackDown or Raw, or wherever have you, or maybe headline. You had John Cena who stood out because of his charisma, not because of his wrestling ability, but because of his charisma. Batista stood out because of the size of him. You had Brock Lesnar, who was the athlete that he was and could do the things he could do, and you're thinking, wow, he could really be something special. Shelton Benjamin, the same category, someone that does all these amazing high-flying things. You just had people who stood out in their own unique ways, but I don't really get that with Florida Championship Wrestling. And even if you go further on in the OVW era, when Paul Heyman was writing there, again, people stood out. There were some individuals there. You had the Elijah Burks with his personality and charisma. Then you had Kennedy, who offered something a little bit different. You had Brent Albright and CM Punk, who offered something different. Guys who stood out and could actually add something to the roster. But now you look at Florida, it's not so much the same. And then you look at how ECW, which we all know is more or less the, I don't want to say the C show, but the step up from developmental. And there's people who stand out on there, but how far are they really going to go? Because I sometimes get the feeling that WWE don't go all the way with the younger talent that they bring on their roster. Okay, and do you remember this new talent initiative that they had around 2008 summertime? Well, they wanted to push all this new talent because they felt that was the way to go, and it is the way to go. And then they caught up all this new talent, and maybe only a quarter of them have really caught on. And sometimes you can say, yeah, it's the talent, but then other times you think, maybe not. Okay, I'll give you an example. Nick Nemeth or Dolph Ziggler. Nick Nemeth created his own gimmick in Florida. He created his own gimmick actually after he left the Spirit Squad and made the changes, kind of having this Billy Graham, Rick Rude, flamboyant character. And he kind of made his own gimmick and invested the time in himself to kind of get over it in the developmental system, and he did. And he stands out if you watch him on the developmental programming on YouTube. You can find it somewhere. I'll link it up. You fast forward now to when he gets called up onto the main roster. They give him a name which is completely odd. They kind of tone down his look a bit so the flamboyancy's gone, so he doesn't stand out as much. And then when they call him up for his first match, okay, actually before that he's doing this introduction gimmick, which is kind of getting some attention. But then when they give him his first match, he loses in 3 minutes, and you think, well, what are you doing? Now, of course, people aren't going to care because the casual thought is, wow, he lost in 3 minutes. Do I care? No. So, he's not really catching on. It probably would have been better to have, like they did with Kennedy, to have him on a streak of significant wins over significant people. And maybe people go, wow, maybe there's something there. You never know. But, that's a problem I've just picked up on with developmental and beyond. If WWE keep on doing this, they're going to have some serious problems. I mean, look at the main event for WrestleMania this year. It's Triple H and Orton, and how many times have we paid to see that? What, 8, 9 times on pay-per-view, 4 times or 5 times on free television, and it's the WrestleMania main event. Do you really think it's going to do the big buy rate? No. So I think WWE, they really need to take a chance on the younger talent and do it in the right way and have a long-term plan. Otherwise, we're going to have the same main event over and over and over and over and over again. Don't be surprised if next year's main event is Edge versus Orton, which we've seen again, or Edge versus Hunter. That does have leverage. But the point is, they need to freshen it up. And some of the problem lies in developmental, and some of the problem lies on when these developmental talents actually get onto the main roster. Anyway, that was just something I wanted to say, and this is the beginning of some more serious wrestling videos, and I hope they catch on. Any feedback, let me know for the 1 or 2 people who watch this, and I'll get back to you. Bye!